The silence in the cathedral was so heavy it felt like it was crushing the lungs of every guest in attendance. My sister, Elena, stood at the altar in the ivory silk gown I had designed for myself, clutching the bouquet I had hand-picked, looking at the man I was supposed to marry. She thought she had won. She thought she had finally taken the one thing I valued most. But as the priest asked if anyone had any objections, I didn't stand up to cry. I didn't scream. I simply pressed play on the remote in my pocket. And as the giant projector screens meant for their love story slideshow flickered to life, Elena's world didn't just crumble. It turned into a graveyard. I didn't just stop a wedding. I dismantled her existence in exactly 60 seconds. They say blood is thicker than water. But in our house, blood was just something my sister liked to spill. Growing up, Elena was the golden child, a title she earned not through merit, but through a terrifying ability to manipulate our parents into giving her everything. If I got a new toy, she broke it. If I got a lead role in a school play, she'd accidentally spill juice on my costume minutes before the curtain rose. It was a pathological, bone-deep need to possess whatever made me happy. Then came Mark. Mark was different. He was steady, brilliant, and he looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. For 3 years, we built a life together. We bought a condo, we planned a future. And eventually, he slipped a 2-carat diamond on my finger. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. I felt like I finally had something Elena couldn't touch. I should have known better the moment I introduced him to the family at Thanksgiving. I saw that familiar, predatory glint in her eyes. She didn't want Mark because she loved him. She wanted him because he was mine. It started subtly, a sisterly text to Mark asking for help with her car. A casual appearance at his office with coffee because she was in the neighborhood. I watched it happen in slow motion. A psychological car crash I couldn't look away from. When I confronted her, she laughed, calling me insecure and crazy. When I confronted Mark, he told me I was being paranoid, that she was just going through a hard time and needed family support. The gaslighting was the most agonizing part. They made me feel like I was losing my mind while they were finding each other in the shadows of my own home. I found the first concrete proof 2 months before our wedding date, a string of deleted messages on Mark's laptop, talking about how they couldn't wait for the inevitable end of our relationship. But the ultimate betrayal didn't happen in private. It happened on a Tuesday morning when I came home early from a business trip to find my sister in my bed, wearing my engagement ring, the one I'd left on the nightstand to be cleaned. Mark didn't even look ashamed, he looked relieved. He told me he'd realized Elena was his true soulmate. Within 48 hours, I was kicked out of our shared condo. Within a week, they announced they were taking over the wedding date I had spent a year planning. Elena wasn't just stealing my man. She was wearing my entire life like a second-hand suit. I spent 3 days in a dark hotel room, vibrating with a rage so cold it felt like ice in my veins. My parents sided with her, of course. They said love is messy and that I should be the bigger person for the sake of family harmony. That was the moment something inside me snapped. The bigger person was dead. I began to dig. I knew Elena was impulsive, and I knew her perfect life was built on a foundation of lies and unpaid debts. I spent a small fortune on a private investigator, and what he found was better than anything I could have scripted. Elena hadn't just been cheating with Mark. The sound that came out of Mark wasn't human. It was a guttural howl of realization and fury. My father looked like he was having a stroke as the numbers of his stolen retirement fund flashed on the screen for all 200 guests to see. I walked out of the church as the shouting started and the first punches were thrown. I didn't look back to see Elena's mascara-streaked face or Mark throwing his ring at her. I got into my car, drove to the airport, and used the non-refundable honeymoon tickets I'd secretly kept in my name. As I sat in first class with a glass of vintage champagne, I realized that revenge isn't just sweet. It's the only thing that truly balances the scales. 3 hours into the flight, I unblocked Mark and Elena just long enough to see the immediate collapse. My phone almost melted. I scrolled past the desperate "Where are you?" texts in the mist, calls from my hysterical mother. What I was looking for were the headlines. Local news had already picked it up. High society wedding shambles, gilded affair ends in allegations of theft and infidelity. A single muffled notification broke through my silent meditation. Elena's final public-facing Instagram story. A single black slide text in tiny white font, "You win." Are you happy now? I swiped the notification away. It was a pathetic admission. It wasn't about winning. Elena, it was about erasure. I had erased her mask. I had erased her stability, and now I was erasing the very memory of the pain she caused. I was drinking the vintage champagne Mark bought for her, flying to the private island he rented for her. The only thing that truly balances the scales is the cold weight of absolute accountability. When the pilot announced our final descent over the azure waters, I felt the last anchor of my past dissolve. I looked out the window, not seeing the beach, but seeing the finality of my decision. The bigger person didn't exist anymore. The only person left was the one who was about to spend 2 weeks in paradise, alone drinking the champagne of victory, paid for with my sister's absolute ruin. Good luck with the legal fees. Elena, the real world has finally come for its golden child.